Have you ever waited for something for a really, really long time? Imagine walking for 40 years through a giant desert, just holding on to one single promise. Well, today we're jumping into the incredible story of Moses and the Israelites, a journey that's all about faith and finally reaching a new beginning. Hey everyone, and welcome to Bible Guidebook. This is your home for all the greatest Bible stories. We are about to unpack the final, really dramatic part of a 40-year journey that changed everything. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so picture this. After 40 long years of wandering through a huge, sandy desert, the Israelites were finally there. They were standing right at the edge of the land God had promised them. In front of them was a whole new world, so different from the empty wilderness they'd known for so long. This was the moment. The land was described as a place flowing with milk and honey. Now, that doesn't mean there were actual rivers of milk and honey, although how cool would that be? No, it was a beautiful way of saying the land was full of good things. Green fields, fresh water, and the promise of a wonderful future. It was everything they had ever dreamed of. And you know, this promise wasn't new. It was an ancient promise made hundreds and hundreds of years earlier to their ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So finally getting here wasn't just the end of a long, hard trip. It was the ultimate proof that God always keeps his promises. But just as they were standing on the very edge of their new home, they faced one last test. The promise was right there. They could see it. But whether they could actually cross over and live there would all come down to their faith. So Moses sent 12 spies on a secret mission to check out the land. And what they found, well, it was a land of amazing contrasts. On one hand, they saw proof that the land was incredible. They found bunches of grapes so big, it took 2 men to carry just one. But on the other hand, they also saw huge cities with tall walls and people who looked like giants. When the spies came back, they told 2 very different stories. 10 of them gave a report filled with fear. They talked about unbeatable giants and walls they could never get through. But 2 of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, they told a different story, a report of faith. They saw the same giants and the same walls, but they believed that God's promise was much, much bigger than any problem. And sadly, so sadly, the people chose to listen to the scary report. They chose fear instead of faith. And that one choice had a huge consequence. They had to spend another 40 years wandering in the desert. A whole generation grew old and passed away until a new, stronger generation was ready to try again. So those 40 years finally passed. A new generation of Israelites stood ready, and their leader, Moses, now 120 years old, was preparing them for their destiny. He was about to perform his very last act as their leader. But here's a really bittersweet part of the story. Because of a time when Moses had disobeyed God, he knew that his own journey was about to end. He would lead his people right up to the promised land, but he wouldn't get to go inside himself. So God led Moses up to the top of a high mountain called Mount Nebo. And from way up there, he could see everything. It was an incredible view of the future he had worked so hard for. He saw the Jordan River, the city of Jericho, and beautiful hills stretching as far as he could see, the whole entire land that was promised. As Moses looked out over that beautiful land, God spoke to him. He told him that his job was done. His life's mission was complete. He had brought his people all the way home. And right there on that mountain, the great leader's journey came to a peaceful end. With Moses gone, it was a huge moment for Israel. An old chapter had closed and a brand new one was about to begin. And this new chapter needed a new leader to take them across that final river. And that new leader was Joshua. You remember him, right? He was one of the 2 brave spies who, all those years ago, had come back with a report full of faith. His strong trust in God and his courage made him the perfect person to lead the people into their new home. Standing in front of the people, Joshua shared a powerful message. He told them to be strong and courageous, and he reminded them that the very same God who had been with Moses would now be with them. And so, as they stood on the banks of the Jordan River, ready to cross, they understood what this land really meant. It wasn't just a piece of ground. It was proof that God keeps his promises. It was a fresh start, a home for their families, and a future filled with hope. The long journey was finally over.
What an amazing story of faith and never giving up, right? So, what are the big lessons we can take away from this epic journey?
Well, this story teaches us some really important things. It shows us that faith is so much stronger than fear. It reminds us that God always keeps his promises, even if it takes a really long time. And it shows us that God can guide us through our own deserts and lead us to our destiny. And that's the story of how the Israelites finally reached the Promised Land. The Bible is just filled with incredible stories like this one, each with powerful lessons. So what amazing story do you think we should explore next? Let us know down in the comments. And be sure to check out the other stories we have right here on our channel. Every single one is an adventure just waiting for you. Thank you so much for watching with us today. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next one. We'll see you then.